Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Hawk Blogger Mornings. I am Brian M. Hauser, and it's a Seahawks Saturday, although at the time of this recording, it is not Saturday. It's Friday still, but I wanted to make sure while I'm on a flight to Atlanta right now, you guys would have the opportunity to get some fresh content and be able to hang out with each other. So you will not be able to see the chat, but you can also obviously participate in the chat, and I will have the audio up for everybody as well, so you can listen to whatever you want. Finn is with me. Finn wants to join for a second, so he's got a fresh haircut and is excited to be part of the show, at least at the beginning here. So I got, I was not necessarily planning to give you guys this episode, if I'm being honest, but there was so much good audio from the team this year that I really just, from this team this week, that I just couldn't do anything but create this episode. Honestly, I had to leave some of it out of the episode because there was so much. There might be some that I actually have planned to use that I won't have time to use, but we will see. And there's a chance that Finn's going to get very excited about the deer outside and start barking. I may have to go take care of that as well. But if you haven't already, give the show a like and click subscribe, please do. If you could take a moment, give us a 5-star rating on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. That's super helpful, makes my day and makes it worth it for me to do these extra shows even while I am traveling. And tomorrow, it's going to be so cool. Jeff Simmons will be with me in Atlanta. He'll be with me in the press box. He will be with me in the locker room for the post-game press conferences and for the post-game show on the field. So, yeah, two of the HB crew will be there in Atlanta to help cover the game for you. It's going to be great. And we got tons more. And then after this game, we get into really the stretch of the stretch run. My goodness, what a 4-game stretch will be ahead for the Seahawks after this game. Let's just hope they get this one taken care of and we can turn our attention to those final 4. All right, so this episode is really just going to be going through some sound that just really, in some cases, moved me, and some cases just kind of caught my attention. There's some themes to some of it, and some of it was just good enough that I wanted to play and talk to you guys about it. This beginning group is, I'm going to move between some different players and coaches and stuff, but it's really about the culture and the connection being built here. And this is something they've talked a lot about, but a number of different players kind of hit on it in different ways. And I was trying to decide who I wanted to start with because all of it's really good. I really just loved hearing from Ernest this week. And so the first thing I'm going to play for you here is I asked him kind of how does this culture or how does this team differ from some of the other places you've been in terms of distractions and just focus on football? And here is what Ernest said about that.
I think you're in Seattle. It's not too much you can get into. Unlike places I've been where LA is LA, and Tennessee, you got Broadway right down there. So Seattle, there's not much you can get into. So players, it's either football or nothing. So that's why I think it's pretty easy to kind of do here versus other places.
Yeah, and Leonard Williams I think it was Julian Love made a similar comment, or maybe it was Leonard, I can't remember. But I do think that matters in terms of these guys just being all in. There's a reason people were concerned that it was going to be hard to ever have a good team in Las Vegas because of all the distractions. There's people that believe that teams in Miami and Florida in general, it's hard to keep guys, closer to Miami to actually be focused on football. Seattle, one of the benefits, there's not as much else going on here unless you're, considering getting distracted by going hiking or fishing or things of that nature. There's another question I asked Ernest about kind of how he developed as a leader. And his answer here was, I thought, pretty cool. I want to play this for you and share just a couple thoughts here because there's so many different leaders on this team with different styles. And here is Leonard talking about how where he developed as a leader.
I think it's always been me. My mom, she did not like a follower. Like you be your own man, be your own person. And I had no choice but to be a leader in situations and just the way I grew up. That's what was needed out of me. So I think it's just come natural and just kind of how I was raised.
And part of the reason I like that is everything about Ernest is natural. There's an authentic. There's nothing about it that's forced or he's trying to be a speaker or trying to stand up. And one of the things that was cool is then listening to Leonard Williams talk about the leadership style of Ernest and how he kind of shows up and how the speech he gave at the end of this game and just being vulnerable. You heard Matt Hasselbeck talk about how that was moving to him. This is Leonard Williams talking about how being vulnerable and Ernest being vulnerable in that situation was important from his perspective.
I mean, for me, it's special to see one of my teammates be vulnerable and feel safe enough. That says a lot about our team that he's comfortable with everybody on our team to be vulnerable in a space like that and feel like it's going to be taken well like a family. And I think that's another big reason why he's such a great leader on this team. He's showing the young guys to do that.
And this is like I'm kind of going to go all over the place with this because the one of the things that's really cool about this team is the different styles of leadership. And I kind of asked Mike McDonald way back before the draft that he and John kept talking about the need to get like high character guys, their guys. And I asked him like, how do you get like a really tough, hardcore football player, but someone that's also kind of meeting your criteria of being this good person? And Mike really was fired up about that question and just went off and listed all the guys like Leonard Williams and Ernest and other guys on this team that are absolute dogs on the field, but are also quality people. And Julian Love, who was back, was named Walter Payton Man of the Year candidate for the Seahawks. I asked him kind of like, here he was talking about all this charity work he did, how much they've given back. And so I asked him how did you, in a world where being a football player is meant to be you're supposed to be a tough guy. But you're also talking about here all the kindness and generosity that you've kind of displayed. How do you square that circle? And here's what Julian said.
Yeah, I mean, that's not so. If the tough football player side was my dad, the passion has to be the mom. And so my mom, she was the compassion of our crew. And thankfully, she was just okay with me being me. I was never kind of that prototypical football player. And it was okay. And in some households, it's not. And so thankfully for that. And then I met my wife young. And same thing, she kind of knew me as a well-rounded person before the football player. And so, I don't know, it's just I had a good circle of people who appreciate me for me. And outside of family, even in the building, like everyone lets me be myself, which is hard. It's tough to find a group to surround yourself with that allows you to kind of just be your full self.
Tough to find a group to surround yourself with that lets you be your full self. I mean, I think that is... there is just like so much goodness in terms of forget the football side. I mean, we all love the football side, but in terms of culture building and in terms of like assembling a group of guys that are like-minded and excellent football players, it's really really rare. Leonard Williams, getting back to him, was asked like, what separates this defense? What separates this defense from others, or is this the best defense you've played on? He not only talked about it being the best defense, but when asked kind of like why, his answer kind of goes right along with this theme. So here's Leonard Williams talking about that, switching all sorts of things. So forgive me as I bungle this.
I mean, it's the best defense I played on, and it's I played on some talented defenses. I would say played against alongside some great D linemen and things like that as well. I think what makes this team and defense so special and unique is just our connection, and I think that's the driving force of everything.
What do you remember the Atlanta game?
again, connection, camaraderie, like that piece of this. And uh it's also this thing where JSN, same. I mean, there's just so much good stuff going on this week. JSN, we were asking him about this, and I asked him, okay, so what's the difference between your team that's 9-3 this year and the team last year that was also playing reasonably well, ended up with 10 wins? What's the main difference? And here's what JSN said.
Yeah, I would say there's a lot of things different. There's a lot of things different. One, the camaraderie, how we go about each other, how we approach the game, and, leave it all on the line, make sure, you have your brother's back. And I think that's, very key. All the best teams I've been on, has had that, brotherhood. And it's definitely cool to see where it has transformed from, a year or even, in the spring. So, to have that, I think is key. I think it's key in, clear line communication. I think that opens the door for great communication talks and being able to look, your teammate in the eye or coach in the eye and say, this is what I expect from you, and being able to get it done, for the next guy. So I love the culture, that we're building here. I think it's awesome. It's a privilege to be a part of it.
A really cool part of what JSN's talking about there, which is like you get into this, you're like, culture, like all this, soft skill kind of stuff. How important is it really? But he hit on a key part of it, which is when you have that connection and that brotherhood, that trust, then you can actually have harder conversations and have it be a positive, right? And have people actually listen and feel like it's coming from a good place, and it doesn't push the team farther apart when they have those tough conversations. It brings them closer together. So I think that's really, really key. I asked him at some point if the brotherhood goes off the field. I want to see if I can find that sound. Give me a second, because I didn't find this ahead of time. I'm just realizing now I wanted to kind of play this, but let me see if I can fast forward to that. Does that extend beyond? Oh, I did right here.
Oh, 1,000%. 1,000%. 1,000% to be a part of it.
All right. Does that extend? So the question I asked is, does that brotherhood extend beyond the field? Beyond the locker room?
1,000%. 1,000%. 1,000%. Anytime, we can get together, we're going to get together, and, you can see, people just setting up more settings for us to be at, and, to take advantage of a special time that we all feel, is a special time to, be great and, be here for one another and push, what we believe in onto, a great city. And, yeah.
Why do you think it's different this year?
So then he's asked, why does he think it's different this year?
I think, just for it being Coach McDonald's second year, I think what he built from our first year is just growing. And, being able to see, what we're about, put up in front of you, chasing edges, mob ties, something that we have built, all those things, being able to just build on that, and everybody just understanding the mission. When you have a lot of guys understanding the mission and going forward, it's a lot easier.
So that's JSN talking about why it's different this year, and just about how critical it is to, have this shared camaraderie and brotherhood. And the fact that these guys, one of the things that stood out about the LOB, everyone talks about what they were like on the field, but those guys, Marshawn had them over at his house all the time. There was a lot of off-field stuff. Those guys were really, really tight. And I absolutely believe that translates into on-field play. And to hear that that's also going on here, it's pretty cool. The other thing that kind of stood out is just hearing about, I'll play a couple different guys here, but the different leadership styles that show up. And so we'll get back to Ernest on this one. Ernest was, we kind of asked him about Drake Thomas. I'm not going to play the initial sound. It's pretty cool there as well about like Drake Thomas being so good at prep that it's got Ernest kind of thinking times that maybe he needs to be better. But he talked about like the different leadership styles and how, Drake actually kind of can help him calm down on the field. And this was Ernest talking about that.
I'm crazy. Yeah, I'm when I get out there on Sunday, like I think I've said this before, a lot of people say you can't flip a switch. Like Sunday, that's really not Ernest. Like I'm a totally different dude. Like I'm out there to hunt. I'm out there to be that guy. And there's instances in games where I'll lose my cool and I'll be a little fiery and hot-headed, and Drake's that's like chill, just calm down, you're good. And when I hear that calms me down. So because at that point I know that I'm tripping. Like so.
I love this because the fact that Ernest listens to Drake Thomas his first year as a starter, at least, and that he kind of appreciates that. Also speaks to kind of this connection and respect that these guys have. I think respect's another key word here, where these guys, it's one thing to like the other guy. It's a totally different thing to respect them. And I think you see that with these players, certainly. And then this is a conversation about kind of just different leadership styles. And the fact that you got Jaron Reed and you got DeMarcus Lawrence and you got Uchenna Nwosu and you got, Ernest and Leonard Williams and on and on and on. There's so many leaders on this team. How do these different leadership styles blend? And this was Ernest on that.
People down there?
Yeah, I have a good few people down there.
You've got a lot of different leaders, different styles in that locker room. Leonard, you, Julian, all those folks. How does it all come together? Like when someone speaks up versus someone else?
I think the different leadership styles just kind of flow into how we approach situations. So if there's a really hot-headed situation, certain guys aren't handling those approaches. So situation that's pretty big, I'll probably be in there in some form or fashion. Something that's really chill that, maybe be too chill, I got to step out because I'm already, up here. That may be Leo's time to talk. So I think we just find our avenue, find our ways, and we've kind of combined each leadership style to be able to, display that message by whoever needs to.
This is just like a master class. I know these guys aren't intending it to be, but like the way that this is all blending together is pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. And there's a conversation here. This is Julian Love, and he's talking about Coby Bryant. And he's talking about Coby Bryant as a player, but he's talking as well about him as a leader. A lot of people don't think about Coby Bryant as a leader, but listen to what Julian Love says here.
You mentioned how emotional it was just getting back on
Wrong part of the Julian interview. Let me get to that. This is all the way here. All right. This is about Coby Bryant.
I mean, the dude's balling. He's a ball player. It's crazy. It's really cool as we're watching film of some last year stuff. Like that year, Job's first game playing with us, Coby's first start.
I was in Atlanta
He was getting in for a significant time. Nehemiah, like it's cool to see that journey of what a year can be. And Coby, I mean, he's just the leader. Like everyone in that room loves him because he's speaking up more. Like Ernest is our leader for sure, but Coby has to be like right there, number 2, I think. Just when he talks, people listen, and so it's cool to see him make plays, be who he is, carry that chip on his shoulder that he always has. And yeah, I think it's only the beginning for Coby kind of in this league, and so I'm excited just for everything he's been able to accomplish.
I mean, not only do you have guys that, like the fact that Julian Love is saying Ernest is the leader and then Coby, I mean, I think Julian Love is one of the leaders on that team. I think a lot of people would say that, but Julian talks about how sometimes his role is to kind of calm people down or to get people to move on from something if they're too fired up. And And so you've got these like the hotheads and the guys that are going to be like getting people revved up. You got the guys that are going to be cooling people down. And they're all very, very good at what they do. There's another kind of leadership moment that I think was like in display. It wasn't talking about leadership, but it was just the way that JSN talked about. I asked him a couple different questions about kind of how do you handle, like, you've been just tearing it up all year and then you have a quieter game. How did that go for you? What was your reaction to that? And there's a lot of different things he could have said. Here is what he did say. How do you react to a game like that?
I'm definitely happy with our guys. I'm proud of our guys, and we went out there and won 26-0. You know what I'm saying? We're entering championship football, and at this time, it's about winning. So I'm happy with the win. I know there's things to get better on, as I say every week, and so just attacking that and making sure we win. That's, like I said, that's all that matters.
Facing that number of blitzes is like.
I don't think you get much of a better answer than that from a guy that's chasing a historic record for the NFL. And, he turns it back to talking about wins. It was absolutely a genuine answer. There's nothing behind it where he's like pissed off about it. He went on to talk more about it later, and that's just kind of who he is. And he was asked a little bit later, where did the kind of the mob ties origin come from? And he talked about it came from the leadership team. Like there's a leadership council kind of on the team. Here's him talking a little bit more about that earlier this week.
A team thing, something that bonds us. Mission over bullshit, and that's what we're about. Just going forward and winning, and all the other stuff is. We'll leave that alone. We're focused on the mission, and it's awesome to do it with these guys in this building.
And he goes on. He was asked, like, how would you? I think Ari Horton of the Seahawks asked him, for someone that doesn't know this culture, how would you explain it? And I thought his answer was pretty cool. Here's what he said about that.
I'll explain, it's a brotherhood. It's something that we've built from the ground up. It's something that, like Seattle is very, if you will, off the map. So the togetherness when we travel, when we go places, it's protect the team, it's to protect the brotherhood. And we really stand on that. We really believe that, and it shows every single day. So if you're not really here, maybe it's hard to see, but if you're here every single day, you understand what I'm talking about.
I mean, I could be, talking about a lot of these things, but I mean, I think their words, like, these guys are articulating it so well. It doesn't need translation. It doesn't need analysis. It doesn't need an extra layer. I just wanted to kind of like basically edit together all of these moments that happened just this week from all these different guys talking about it. And it's really encouraging because, going into these really tough stretches where you're going to have really tough moments, you're going to have something like Ernest Jones speaking up to support Sam Darnold. And that could be the thing, like, that you end up looking back at the end of the season was emblematic of how this team is going to face down adversity, because adversity is always coming. It's always around the corner, and these guys it feels like they are able to weather that in a way that certainly last year's team did not. So there's one other thing I wanted to play, like, kind of, we talked about the origin of mob ties. I asked Aden Durde yesterday, so where did Death Zone come from? And he gave his answer on this. It was the first time we actually have got the oh shoot. I think we got the wrong timestamp. Let me see if I can get this back to the right place. I think this is it.
It's just, is that?
Okay, so this, I believe, hopefully I got it right, is the origin of Death Zone that we've heard so much.
It's just, it's actually something that I saw on TV, like watching a show called 14 Peaks, and it was just this guy that was climbing 8,000 meter mountains, and he was saying only a few people can last, kind of survive in that area above 8,000 meters, and he called it the death zone. He said, like, in the death zone he came alive, and I kind of just related it to the guys now related to that moment in football where you have to thrive, that you have to be ready, you have to be prepared, you have to attack it, you have to go.
So you're going to check your D lineman up 8,000?
So I gotta admit that kind of flipped me a little. I haven't been the biggest fan of Death Zone. I thought it was kind of this random phrase that was just like, let's put some words together and make it sound like we're in the death zone. But I actually have watched that show, the 14 Peaks that he's talking about, the movie, I think it was. And I mean, it's a literal term, I think, relative to mountain climbing and the notion of that moment when you're in, like, it's an extreme situation and most people don't survive it, and that you thrive in it. I think that's a really cool concept for this team, and I think it captures the mentality in a really interesting way. It's also really cool that AD, is people have kind of talked about where it comes from, because I think Ernest was the first person to say it out loud, but it was obviously AD that kind of brought it to the team, and I thought that was cool as well. So lots of really cool stuff there. Switching gears, there was a lot of stuff about Nick Emmanwori. I mean, I think everybody is just now starting to realize how special of a player he is. And I want to play a few different clips for you guys. The first thing, I'll stick with AD since we're already here. The fact that he's been playing on the defensive line, I was like, all right, so AD, this means, I mean, Aden is the defensive coordinator, but he does a lot of hands-on work with the edge rushers and the pass rushers and that kind of stuff. And so I was like, well, now you get your hands on Nick, what's that's like. And you'll hear him talk about all the different coaches that get their hands on this player, Nick Emmanwori, because he does so many things.
Yeah, actually, I worked with him the other day. Yeah, I think, like, Nick, when you get those players, and we spoke about it before, that can do multiple things, I think we came to, like, a solution of, like, they have to see the kind of experts in their area. So he gets coached by a few people and he moves around a lot, and he does a great job of taking that information and seeing what works for him, because he's around a lot of players from different positions, so they give him the game from their eyes, and he takes it and he's growing, and it's pretty cool to see him grow. He's doing a good job.
I mean, it's pretty crazy. Just thinking about how many different coaches he ends up getting exposed to. And that's, I mean, I've seen Marshawn Lynch go through bag drills with the defensive line. I mean, there's guys that have picked up things from different units. That's not necessarily unique to Nick, but the fact that he is being deployed and expected to play these different roles and getting, I mean, think about it. Think about that, like, an edge rusher works their entire career on refining those skills. And now you've got a guy that's kind of part-time learning that while also learning how to play deep safety, while also playing nickel and dime and playing some linebacker. And it's a lot. And the guy's 21 years old and he's a rookie. It's wild. And, the guys are in the locker room are pretty clear about what this means and what he can be. This was Ernest talking about Nick, and this is by everyone's account, a key leader on that defense, if not the leader on this defense. Here is what Ernest said about Nick.
I mean, it's everything. Nick's a different guy, man. In every way. I mean, his personality. He came into this this team, this defense, and there's a lot of different guys in that room, but he fit in just perfect. And he's a freak, man. The way we look at him and we like, bro, there's no way you're 6'3", 6'4", whatever, 200-something pounds doing the things that you're doing. But I think we just constantly been motivating him. When he has rough moments, we're there with him. We've all been there. So to see where he's came from to where he's at now, we expected it, honestly.
If you haven't seen the Mike Macdonald mic'd up, I recommend watching it because you see Mike Macdonald kind of making sure that Nick's okay, even in times when he was kind of frustrated or felt like he wasn't doing something well. He was like, he played really well. It sounds like Nick was kind of down on himself in this Minnesota game, and you've got guys all over the roster, picking him up, including the coaching staff. This was Julian Love talking about Nick and gave him pretty much as high of a praise as you can give, especially to a rookie that is still just coming into his own. And here's Julian Love talking about Nick Emmanwori.
First of all, let me say Nick can be the best of all of us. Obviously, we're not 6'3", can run and jump, all this stuff, can bend. And from the jump, I think Mike did a great job of just introducing him to like small concepts at once. Like he's not trying to make him learn all these things. He's, hey, learn this, rep it. Now you can learn this. And so now, even if he's not perfect on the field, he just flies around and can make plays just because he's a special player. And it's been cool to just be be a vet for him. I just try to keep it the main thing with him. He's this category of young players in this league are different nowadays. He's an NIL baby. You got to talk to him a different way. And so we all really appreciate him, and he's fitting, perfectly along with the defense.
You said that. I think one of the coolest things about Nick Emmanwori is the fact that he has fit in right away. And there was a time with the Seahawks, and John Schneider and the personnel staff has talked about this, where it was hard to draft guys that would be able to come in and actually try to take time away from Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas, Brandon Browner, Byron Maxwell, whoever, right? Like these were like Hall of Fame level guys in a lot of cases. And people just kind of came in and were expected to be second fiddle or third fiddle. Nick came in, and it was apparent to me from the first OTA that I witnessed, the way that he was, where he was in warmups, who he was talking to, how he was like taking shit and giving it back. It wasn't even a question for him about whether he belonged. He was just there. He was doing his thing. And I think the guys, they were hassling him because he's a rookie and, you got to make him earn it. But you could see the respect there. And then to see him do it during practice and build that up. And the fact that he has been not only the most athletic safety prospect in the history of the sport, but also been inquisitive and smart and studious and, earning the responsibility to take on more from a coach like Mike Macdonald, who does not give that easily. It's huge. And I don't know that we've spent enough time talking about the fact that he was out for the first part of this season, right? Like he was gone for 4 games, 5 games, whatever it was. And this team still managed to go into Pittsburgh and win and, destroy the Saints and go into Arizona and win and a lot of these other things. And the fact that it feels like the Seahawks team is actually hitting its stride on defense now, I don't think that's an accident. I don't think that's, they've just gotten like better. They've gotten some of their key guys back that are now playing. Nick Emmanwori is probably the guy that's the best example of he will probably play his best football the rest of the season. And he is a player capable of making some amazing contributions. So I think it was really cool. I think it's going to be really fun. This is one of the most exciting additions to a Seahawks roster ever. That's kind of where I'm at with Nick Emmanwori. Doesn't mean he's going to be the best Seahawks player of all time. It doesn't mean he's going to be a Hall of Fame player. But I feel a little bit about him like I felt about DK Metcalf as a rookie. And again, like you don't know where that's going to go. But I remember seeing DK Metcalf and watching how he was so much more than just a one route guy, at least at the time. And some of the things he was doing, I was like, this guy, his ceiling isn't being the best Seahawks receiver on this team, or maybe even the best Seahawks receiver in the franchise history. But he has the physical talent to be the best receiver that's ever played. Like, nobody's like him. That hasn't worked out. He is certainly not any of the things I just said, but I don't know. Nick has some of that ceiling. The question is just how close to that ceiling is he going to get? There are a couple more things I wanted to play for you guys. Some Klint Kubiak sound, a little bit more from Julian Love. Before I do, let me make sure I remind you, head over to SimplySeattle.com. Use code HawkBlogger15. That will get you not only 15% off your purchase at SimplySeattle.com. But for a limited time, I'm trying to make sure I've got the right info here so I can read it to you guys. For until December 24th, 5% of every purchase you make at SimplySeattle.com using code HawkBlogger15 will go to the Fred Hutch Cancer Center's Patient and Family Assistance Fund, which provides vital help with transportation and temporary lodging for patients fighting for their lives. Great thing to do. Plus, you can get Simply Good hoodies, amazing hoodies for $25. If you get one of those, an additional $5 will go to the Fred Hutch Cancer Center's Patient and Family Assistance Fund. So SimplySeattle.com is a great place to go to get a deal for yourself and give back, or get something for somebody else. JKBoots.com/hawkblogger. Put that in your browser window. It will pull up a promo code specially for you. Get the best deal on the best boots you're going to own. Great gift, amazing gift. Someone will very much thank you. Get them for yourself. Get them for somebody else. Washington company, family owned, literally has hundreds of thousands of subscribers on YouTube that just want to watch them work with leather. Each of these boots, handcrafted, can take them 6-8 weeks at a time per boot. My JK boots are so comfortable. They're amazing. Don't even need my orthotics, which I need every other shoe because the arch support is so good. And download the Sleeper app if you haven't already. Get all your fantasy football information, get your NBA data, hang out with your buddies, talk sports. And if you use promo code HAWKS, you will get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. All right. So a couple more bits of sound I wanted to play for you guys. Let's stick with Julian here for a second. I'm going to play for you this kind of his notion about having a chip on his shoulder since coming back, and a message for people that kind of doubted him about when he was going to come back, and the fact that he's never really been injured in his career. This was Julian talking about that.
There's a bit of a chip on my shoulder, a little bit of kind of a FU to anybody making comments to me about when I'm going to be back. I'm excited. Even if I'm making mistakes out there, I'm like happy about it just because I have the chance to make a mistake. And so it was a lot of that. And it's just like with anything with injuries, this is a lot of internal conversations. Like every day I'm like over analyzing how my body feels, how that run actually went. Can I go? Like what's the situation? And so it's hard not to get out of that. But as soon as I, get into that huddle and everyone kind of greets me, it's like, all right, I do this. Like this is I don't know, I'm a good football player. And so it was just overall, I'm happy to be back.
So, that's going to be something to keep in mind this weekend. I have to imagine they're not going to play him this weekend. Like, give this guy a week on the football field, gaining more confidence in his body, feeling like he's recovering. And then next week, like, get him ready for the stretch run. Like, Ty Okada, is ready and able and has proven that time and again. Let's not rush this guy. He's a key part of this team and can do things that people forget just how good he is. I asked him, like, when the setback happened for him, like what was actually going on. And here's what Julian talked about relative to that. Must have been tough. What happened in that?
Yeah, that was tough. Just basically we were training here, and it was a moment. It was kind of before the bye week. It was on the practice field, and just the hamstring just got worse. And it was a setback none of us wanted, and it definitely had a lasting effect. It's just, I don't know. It's been weird because before this season, like I've never missed a game in my life for injury. Like high school, college, the league, 7 years. And so, like, navigating that, I've always played through stuff. And so I was trying to get back, not rushing it, following the plan. And then to be set back kind of right before that bye week was killer. That was a bye week's supposed to be a week of relaxation and de-stressing, and that was not the case for me. I was pretty fired up.
So, I mean, people that had questions about what happened and how does this happen, I mean, if you've done anything athletically and hamstrings and groins and things like the backs, like there's just certain injuries where you think you're getting back and one wrong move, you just don't know. Like it's impossible to anticipate. And the fact that this guy's never missed a game until this year, high school, college, pros, the fact that he plays through stuff, I'll repeat what I've said a million times. People that kind of think these guys, or maybe the athletic department's a problem, or like the training department, or that guys are injury prone and so they deserve to get, hazed for it. If you don't hear it in his voice and hear how much it matters to him to be on the field, then, I don't think you're listening. And I think folks on this show are listening, but I think it's just really important to know. So let me play a couple bits of sound from Klint Kubiak. Now, Klint Kubiak, not always the most quotable guy, right? Like pretty dry, but I'm pretty fond of Klint Kubiak, I got to admit. And there's a couple things that I asked him that I thought got some pretty interesting answers from him. One of them was right out of the jump. I said, how did you feel? Like you looked at the film from this past week against the Vikings, which they didn't put up a lot of points. What did you see? Listen to what he said.
Really excited about where the run game's going. I thought our offensive line did a great job. Running backs continue to improve. And that's a part of our game we've been working hard on. So it was good to see that take a next step. And a lot of credit to Minnesota. They did a good job, especially in the pass game and protection. And it's a good unit.
So that's what I've been seeing. Like, I think that the run game has been steadily improving. And the fact that he talked about the running backs, he talked about the offensive line, just keep that in mind when people are rooting for there to be a change at, right guard. It's taken some time for them to get to this point. Maybe someone else will come in and it'll be just as good or better, but they also are probably seeing some progress that they like. And the other thing I asked Klint Kubiak about that relates to this is the last one, by the way, was about, okay, Rashid Shaheed has not had a lot of catches, but are you seeing impact in other ways in terms of how defenses are playing you? Listen to what Klint Kubiak said, and I promise I did not feed him this answer.
Yeah, I think it's probably no. I think it's definitely helps your run game. With guys like him and 11 on the field, as far as the kind of coverage that you get. You get to a one receiver set. As far as the kind of coverage that you get, you get to a one receiver set as well, and you put 22 or 11 out there, and they still demand coverage and help. Sometimes help you get lesser boxes. That she's been doing a great job, and he had a really good practice today, like he always does, and I just see him and Sam's chemistry growing.
It's coming, folks. It's a matter of time. It's coming. Rashid Shaheed's gonna have a big game, big moments. I think he's gonna have multiple big games and big moments. And as I've been kind of alluding to, I feel like I've been seeing the impact of his addition in terms of the run game, in terms of passes out into the flat that have more space because he's pulling people downfield with him, passes to A.J. Barner over the middle. I think we are seeing some of the impact. Now, people want to see it in terms of his numbers. I think that's coming too. And the fact that, the chemistry with him and Sam, that is going to take some time. And there was actually a sound from Sam. I asked him about what takes the longest to develop with a receiver. I'm going to go ahead and play it. Why not? I thought I got so many sounds to play. I kind of said no, but given that this is the topic, I feel like it's worth talking about. Let me see if I can find it real quick. This was toward the end. Let me see if I can give me a second while I look for this, guys. Okay. Sorry, I haven't found it yet. One second. Okay. Okay, I found it. I found it. Thanks for your patience. All right. So this is Sam Darnold. When I asked him, what are the things that take the longest to get on the same page with a new receiver, referring to Rashid. And this is what Sam said.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the look where you got maybe a guy pressuring off the side of the choice route, and you got a guy a safety maybe coming over the top trying to defend him. It's trying to understand that leverage as a receiver and as a quarterback. Like, you want to try to stay patient with them, but you also need to be able to throw it in the timing of the play. So there's that can be sometimes the hardest look for those type of routes, but it's being able to talk about it, throughout the week and getting on the same page so that you're not, second guessing yourself out there on the field on Sunday.
So, I've talked to Drew Lock about this as well, and he talked about how choice routes are one of the hardest things to get on the same page on, and how much getting to understand the body language of a receiver is really interesting. Like, being able to read their body language so you can anticipate how they're going to go. I thought it would be as simple as, okay, if the leverage is this by the defender, like they're playing on the outside shoulder, this receiver always is going to go this, choose this in that situation. Like, I thought it would be more like along those lines. But Drew talked a lot about how much it is body language and being able to see, oh, no, he's about to do this, and being able to throw with anticipation in those situations comes last. So it was interesting to hear Sam kind of talk about similarly that choice routes are one of the toughest. And he went into a little bit more detail about, when a blitz is coming and you've got like limited time and you're trying to make this read, it does take a moment. And so you got to give it a little bit of time. You don't have to. I do. That it's going to take a little bit of time. I think they've had some time to work on this, and I think it's going to be better going into the playoffs than it is now. And that's good. That's all good. So that will probably wrap. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully that made sense. Like, I just thought there was so much good sound this week from so many good guys, so much smart stuff, so much encouraging stuff. And now let's hope that they go into Atlanta tomorrow and get a win, get to 10 wins, and then head into what will feel like death zone football, to use an AD term, the rest of the way. If you haven't given the show a like and click subscribe, please do. If you haven't joined over at patreon.com/hawkblogger, why not? We've got like hundreds and hundreds of people over there. It gets you ad-free audio. It gets you access to the Discord server. It gets you a chance to get verified over at hbtix.com. Exclusive locker room audio when we get it. So like all sorts of good stuff. Patreon.com/hawkblogger. Great time to jump aboard. All right, folks, have a great rest of your Saturday. I'm Brian M. Hauser. This has been your episode of Hawk Blogger Mornings. Take care.